Welcome back to the Coaching for Impact podcast. It's another beautiful day here, and I'm here with my co-hosts. Today, picking up from where we were last time, we want to talk about life balance. But before we get into it, how have you guys been?
Been great, Doc. It's almost feels like it's been a minute, but it's great to see everybody, and both of you are looking quite well.
Wow. And I've also been good. I've taken good care of myself, and God has been good to me.
Having
So I
life
can't complain.
balance.
Yes.
We used to think of work-life balance, but lately it's becoming that it's just life balance. Work is a part of your life, and so you need to find a way to integrate it into normal life. So what are your thoughts, especially, you remember in our introduction, you are a life coach and a spiritual leader. I'm a mental health expert, and you are in the corporate world. So perhaps we can start with you.
My name is Madani as you have seen from the previous video, if you go back. And I'm a pastor and I'm a life coach. And it's always a pleasure to want to engage people. That's the reason for Coaching for Impact. So please keep spreading the word too. One of the major things for me about balance in life has to do with our values. Because I believe everyone, there are values that you hold dear, their beliefs. We have that we assume about life. So necessarily it may not be true. They may not be, because we are a product of so many things that condition us. But balance is basically a product of that. What values do I have? What beliefs do I have about life? And my actions in tune with those beliefs? Because if my actions are not in tune with those beliefs, then I'll always be out of balance. I'll find myself doing stuff that I don't want to do because I believe I should be doing something different. So for me, in a nutshell, I would say that's what's key for the topic for today.
When you talk about doing things that you don't want to do, for young people especially, we seem to have a challenge with standing up for values. It's not cool to stand for something. What would you say to a young person who is watching and they're struggling to find balance with what they believe versus what is going on in the world?
I think for me, when I look back at my life, at times I talk like I was never a young person. Now, actually, this thing looks like it's a new thing. It's not new. It has been there all through. And I remember the instructions, I would receive them, and I would think, why would you give me that instruction when I'm way clever than what you're trying to tell me? Now, unfortunately for me, I feel that's the biggest problem the younger generation has, because it assumes we have not lived in their time, all right? So they assume that what they know is actually better than what we knew.
It's new information.
Yes, so for them, I actually feel that when we talk about young people, we must look at the point where they must know that time flies by so quickly. And when reality hits you, that actually what you thought was not impactful to you, sometimes it's too late for you to make changes in your life. And you find now you are just running through life, going through motions, because you didn't set up these things early in life. So my appeal would be that as a young person, even though you may think you're smart because you have a lot of information all around you, at times it only takes you going back to yourself and reflecting, what really do I want from life? Now, once you start asking yourself those questions, you'll go back to your values, what you believe in and what you want to be and what you want to achieve.
I like that so much. I could go next. I have so many questions, but I'll ask them as we go along. I'm Dr. Madani Karanja. I'm a medical doctor and I'm a mental health practitioner, specifically a psychiatrist. So I'm very passionate about mental health. And as I thought about balance, life balance, what came to my mind is the importance of occupying your mind. Because if you don't occupy your mind, it's very difficult to find balance. The mind is this thing which, when it's left alone, it just gravitates towards the negative. I'm sure you'll agree with me that when you're just seated, it's not that your mind is empty. it tends to just keep running. And over 90% of the things that happen, unless you have a trained mind that you have mastered, they tend to be negative. And so it becomes very important to engage your mind actively, starting from your values. Once you've figured out the values you have, and then the giftings that you have, and the things that interest you, then you start to engage your mind. And when you engage your mind, it's not going to be available for these kinds of negative thought patterns. Remember, we don't come from a vacuum. We've had childhood traumas, we've gone through things as adults, so we tend to ruminate on those things, and then we come up with ridiculous conclusions like nobody loves me, life is not worth living, everything is not going to be okay. So engaging your mind becomes very important in finding balance. It helps you have forward motion all the time. Yeah.
No, thank you so much, Doc and Pastor Dennis. So my name is Newton. I sit currently as a CEO in a pharmaceutical company, and really, I'd like to pick up from where you have talked about, especially from a career perspective, because I think one of the biggest challenges I see people forget is that we have certain, I call them critical milestones at work that are very important, and it is so, it's important to also have your clear balance in terms of life balance, as you're calling it now. Even when you start, the first step usually is when you have just graduated. And I usually ask people that, are you very clear about what you really want to do and what your why is? Because having a balance at that time is important. You don't have a job as yet, but you know exactly what you want and maybe the environment which you would like to work. Usually when people come in for interviews, for example, we ask them, where do you see yourself in 5 years, in 10 years? And I think people tend to sort of prepare for this more of a tick of the box initiative, but it has such a very important aspect, because if you know where you want to be in 5 years and in 10 years, my personal belief is that you're going to be anchored at that place of work, but with a clear roadmap about where you need to be. And I'm hoping, Doc, we'll be talking about the people that I know in our current generation, we have so many young graduates that are also struggling to find jobs. And sometimes you get sidetracked because you get frustrated. You've done 1,001 applications, and I'm hoping one day we'll talk about, what it is that you need to prepare when you're looking for a job. You feel like you have the best grades, you've, done your undergraduate, and you find a job market that is completely saturated with people out there that are trying to tarmac. I feel there's a different challenge also that comes into place. That in this kind of a circumstance, how do you want to find balance? Because if you're not careful, and I'd like Doc to comment about it, it's a very thin line between looking for a job, or tarmacking as we call it, and not trying to find out, why am I not getting the job in the first place? Is it something with my qualifications? Is it the way I'm applying? Is it the people I'm applying to? Is it the opportunities I'm going for? Is it my interview? Is it my personality? Is it my body language? Because there are so many things that could contribute to that. And failure to acknowledge can put you on a road path that leads to a very treacherous direction. And I think that's where a lot of our young people also struggle. So they sort of lose balance just simply because they feel everything has not worked in their favor. Yeah.
Wow, that is very relatable to me. There's a crisis. Young doctors are not getting jobs in this country. And in my field, it's actually quite bad, because you finished class 8, you are number 1, and you're like, what do you want to be? I want to be a neurosurgeon. Not just a doctor.
A neurosurgeon.
I have to be a neurosurgeon. And you go to high school, you perform well, you go to med school, and you're kind of assured that you will never lack a job as a doctor. Security is one of the reasons why you chose the career. And now you're here and nobody's hiring. Government is not hiring. Private hospitals are full. And you wonder, what do I do with these skills? And your self-esteem can really take a beating. Some of the ways in which I'm seeing young people getting out of balance is drugs. Kenya has a serious drinking problem, especially among young people. So, and I think that makes the getting out of balance worse, because if you drink the little money you have, now you won't use it to to find
You have more
opportunities.
troubles.
Then even if you could have done a small business.
Or smoke, right? I
Or
mean,
smoke,
we talk
marijuana.
about the ease, yes,
Yes.
of weed, the cookies and everything.
Yes.
I think you're definitely right.
So you find now you keep getting out of balance until now you sink into the depression. But beyond the young people who are looking for work and can't find work, would you talk a little bit about the young people who are in the workforce and life just seems to be happening to them? They're unable to show up, they're unable to be on time. Would you comment a little about that?
Yeah, that's interesting, Doc. I was sharing with a friend of mine today that as we speak, today is, we're sort of just bang in the middle of the year. I don't know if you're aware, but, we have about 5,000 hours remaining before the year ends.
That's specific.
When you tell people that you have about 5,100 hours remaining before the year ends, it really hits a different note. And I think that's what people forget. They think that they'll be 24, 25 or 26 for the rest of their lives. And I must say, I know we blame social media for everything, but it's true. Sometimes the harm seems to be a lot more than the good that it has really done. So you're right. I think our biggest problem with the younger generation is they feel like time seems to stop. They want to have fun. They want to be able to enjoy. But unfortunately, time really moves quite fast. And I want to go back to what we started, and hopefully will really be our key takeaway message today is be clear about your purpose and your why. And make sure that it balances. It shouldn't be that you are sacrificing fun at the expense of thinking about a family. If you want to develop a family or thinking about your career growth, because a lot of young people, in as much as they get into job and they get excited about getting their fast pay, very many people I meet want to grow. They want 5 years to have progressed into a different position. But you have to have, sort of telling you, off camera, that you have to have actions that are congruent with your dreams and aspirations. And I believe that's also where we sort of have a disconnect. The you live only once concept really has done more harm, in my opinion, and has sort of been perpetuated even more by the social media.
What are some of the things that are inconsistent with career growth that perhaps you could give someone who is watching and they're like, I'm stuck? Some habits that you think these ones you've observed in a few people that you're like, if you could get rid of this one, maybe you could experience some growth. Yeah,
for me, I think it's three things. Usually when we hire people, we hire you for the results that you deliver. So if you have been given a position, the first thing you want to ask yourself is, if I look at my job description and what I'm delivering at the end of the month, am I delivering above and beyond what I've been hired for? That's the first thing. And the second thing is then, how consistent is it? Because usually we say, we are what we repeatedly do. So excellence cannot be something that you do once. So if you deliver on point, month on month, you're likely to get onto a path that you can really accelerate. And lastly, for me, of course, everybody comes in with skills because you've gone through your undergraduate studies. Whatever you have graduated with is a foundation stone. Many people don't then develop because everybody has blind spots. There are areas that you find that maybe you don't have key strengths. It could be your communication skills. It could be some aspects of your EQ. It could be some aspects of your leadership. So being able to find somebody, either a mentor or a coach, that helps you to develop those ones, I think then puts you ready for that next position. And that's really is important.
Wow, that's so helpful.
I think just to add, I also think one of the key factors that contribute to that is a motivation factor. What motivates you? If I'm coming to this working space, what really motivates me to work? Is it because I'm looking for the paycheck? Now, if that drives me, then it basically means the drive for me to go for the next stage is purely about money. So then the frustration will be that I'm not getting the money I wanted to get. But in real sense, for me, I actually feel the drive in life should be becoming a better person. If it's in productivity, how do I become better in what I do? How do I do the best in light of the people I serve out there, other than what I receive? You see, if the society has made us to be a bit very selfish, because they measure success with what we bring back. I mean, what check did you bring back? What have you been able to? So I think if that drives life, then it's part of the reason I feel young people are getting frustrated. And I think they also forget that the ones who've gone up that ladder, It has not been a one-time event. It's taken time.
It
They've
took time.
grown themselves to be better leaders, to be better people in light of what they do. Yeah.
I see people genuinely disappointed at 23, 24, and they're like, I'm a failure because I don't have a car or because I don't live in a certain neighborhood. I find that to be very unfortunate, especially men, because men are measured by,
Yes.
can you pay for my hair?
Unfortunately.
Can you pay for my nails? Do my fare.
Exactly.
And it's
If you look at
expensive.
social media, that really is scary in terms of what the supposed bar that has been set. But I wanted to ask you one thing, Doc, which for me also would be important, I think, for our audience. As a medical doctor, we talk about your capability to build certain skills that make you more competitive. What are some of these things that you feel an individual needs to focus on, especially in terms of sharpening your mind, so that you can really become not just competitive at your place of work, as we talk about here saying life balance. When you succeed at work, you're also much more likely to find good balance at home, and of course even in your spiritual life. What are some of these things that you feel maybe from as a medical doctor, what should we be doing consistently to build our let me say aptitude and being much more competitive in your skills?
That's a very good question. And I would approach it in two ways. The first one is the things you need to do on a physiological level. How do you take care of your body? Because if you have a sick body, it can't carry you to the things that you want to do. Sleep. Sleep is so underrated. You need to sleep. It doesn't matter your workload. You need to develop very good boundaries around your sleep. Adults need 7 to 8 hours of good sleep, and continuous sleep, so that now when you go to bed, there is the light stages of sleep and then there's the deep stages of sleep. When you allow for that whole cycle to happen, you rest, your brain is renewed, it actually cools down inflammation inside your brain, and you're able to be refreshed the next day. When you sleep, you also store memories. So you sort through everything that happened in your day, and your brain is able to sort this one discard, this one keep. That's how come before an exam, we say, sleep, don't transnight and go to a paper. You will not remember anything. But if you actually read and at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, you say, that's it, I'm going to bed, and you sleep well, tomorrow your memory will be very sharp. It's very important what you eat. There are foods that promote inflammation and disease, and there are foods that promote health. So wherever you are, just try to choose. If your plate is, let's say, 100%, half of it, try for it to be vegetables as much as you can. Then a quarter protein, a quarter carbohydrates, and drink your water. Pass up the soda, pass up the sugary beverages, choose water when you can. You can have some tea so that you're not loading a lot of things your body needs to process. In terms of your mind, the mind tends to be very scattered. And to be able to concentrate the energy of your mind, it's very important to limit what you consume. You can't just be on TikTok the whole day and think that you're going to achieve your goals. So once, as I said at the beginning, when you determine what you want to do, let's say you want to start a crochet business. So you have to make sure you're consuming content that helps you sharpen your crocheting skills, you're attending things that help you to move that forward. Because if you allow your mind to be scattered, then you'll be pulled in many different directions. And I think one of the biggest tragedies of our time is loss of attention and concentration. Because with this device, I can be on WhatsApp. You can spend the whole day rotating between WhatsApp, Instagram, TikTok, WhatsApp, Twitter, LinkedIn, you name it, you can have it. So it's very important to train your attention on where you actually want to go. And things that help you with attention are mindfulness. You can do some mindfulness exercises, breathing exercises in the morning every day, and this will aid you in being able to pay attention to one thing at a time. Yeah.
Interesting. Maybe, Pasi, then you could wrap up, because I see a link there, and being able to still be anchored from a spiritual perspective, and especially what we feel, as I said, technology, social media, and many other things that seem to draw us away from that anchoring.
And before, sorry, you continue, I also wanted to add one question. You said it was important for someone to choose their values. What happens if you abstain from choosing values?
I think for me, if you abstain from choosing values, you make others choose for you. That's what it is. I mean, because if you don't have your values, people come with theirs. And so they invite you into theirs. Just like they normally say, if you fail to plan, you've already planned because others, and you know why you fail? Because others come with your plan, then they bring you in their plan. So you end up not doing actually what you are meant to do in life. And one of the things that for me about spirituality, I think I really love the Bible because it tends, sometimes we talk of these holidays we normally have and think, oh, man was so creative to bring this. Actually, it's God's idea. So when the Bible talks about Sabbath, it was meant that you must rest. In that, stop everything you are doing, rest so that you are refreshed. And it's strange because even animal rights have come from that. Because even an animal needs to rest so that it can serve and be productive. So I think for today's topic, for me, what I'm picking out is that for you to have balance, you must, first of all, make a decision that that's what you want. That's what you want. Because you can speak about it, but if you don't make that decision that this is what I want, you'll actually not go for it. You'll not go for it. Number two is that as we talk of mental health and all these things, it depends on what we are consuming. So what are we looking out there? What are we getting to consume? Are we fueling the people we are meant to be? Am I feeding the person I should be as I hunt for the job? That's what I could hear from us. And as we also talk about that, are we overindulging? Because we can think we are young and so we can rev throughout and tomorrow we'll still have energy, but you realize your body says no.
Your liver gives up.
Yes, and your liver gives up on you, and then you're in trouble.
It's right. Like the car engine, it starts blinking.
Yes, it's blinking. Yeah, so true. So I think for me, those are key things to pick out. And in case you need help, we are available. The email is right there. Please contact us. Write in your questions. We love to engage with you. We would love to help you find this balance in life. We have coaches here. We have a doctor here. We have a CEO right there. So Noemit, you have all your solutions here. Reach out to us.
Thank you for saying that. That sometimes we are overindulging. As we were thinking of what to discuss, I had raised the thought that are we overdoing this it's okay not to be okay thing, And you've put it so beautifully with the Sabbath thing. God didn't create light, then he was like, let me take a break. Then he comes and creates fish, and then, he didn't do it in a haphazard way. So there also needs to be a commitment on our part. If you're going to be consistent and coherent in where you're going, you also need to concentrate your energy. True. Not resting all the time and randomly, which is a very common thing these days. On a Tuesday, you're like, I'm tired, I'm going home.
That's why there are some songs that actually say something like it's on a Tuesday, but it feels like a Friday. But what I think for me, my take home really is consistency. And I like what we have emphasized. I think for our viewers, I'd like to say, remember, even at work, you have to be consistent. You have to deliver consistency. And we don't say now work-life balance. We say life balance. Because inevitably, your work is now your life. And the two tend to transcend on each other. So if you don't manage one properly, it will definitely affect the other one. So yeah, that would be my wrapping comments.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you to all our viewers for joining us today. Today we've put our email right down there on your screen or wherever it will appear. Please send in your questions, your comments, any dilemmas you might be having. This is a people-centered show. And so we are here to help even as we grow. So if you send in your dilemma, someone will read it and we'll be able to talk about it on the show. But beyond that, we will point you towards the help that you need. So thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you in the next episode.
See ya.
See you.